potential to become legends. Take it.
Is something supposed to happen?
Well, I told you all this would be the next review. Fable 3 is linear. I mean, extremely linear. If you simply follow the main story, you can beat this game in under 7 hours easily. I don't necessarily see this as a problem with games as long as the story keeps me invested, and the story here sort of does.
Will bow to my law, or they will burn.
Taking place 50 years after the events of Fable 2, Albion is caught in the midst of a full-on industrial revolution, and with it comes the turmoil which accompanied the real-world version. Ruling King Logan is a harsh tyrant with no pity for his people, forcing them to work long hours to fuel his war machine, though there appears to be no actual enemy to fight, so what's going on here? And there are talks of revolution in the air. Playing as either the prince or princess, again, gay as fuck, and after a short but somewhat effective opening, I literally had no emotional connection to this dude at all, so I had very little issue having him killed.
We just can't. Choose me. You can't let them all die. Choose me.
You end up leaving the comfort of the castle with your trusty butler Jasper, your pupper, and Sir Walter Beck. Easily the best character from this entire trilogy, with the intention of finding allies throughout the land to overthrow Logan and restore Albion to prosperity. Now, characterization-wise, Fable 3 is easily the best of the series. Having your player character be actually voiced this time around gives some much-needed depth, and the amount of veteran actors providing voices for the supporting cast, like King Theoden himself.
Ha! You only went and broke it. Look at that.
Really does make this game stand high above its predecessors. No, this isn't George R.R. Martin levels of characterization, but since Fable was never really high quality in terms of writing, it's impressive considering what came before. The best part here is how King Logan, despite all the terrible things he's done to Albion, actually has a legitimate good reason to steer the nation towards a military-industrial complex. An unknown terror known as the Darkness, I think, is coming to conquer the whole country, and Logan believes the only way to stop it and save everyone is to force the people to prepare for war. However, this darkness isn't fleshed out at all, and it's just your generic, unstoppable force of nature type villain. This is boring.
Commentary on the nature of the cliché.
Well, an incredibly hot self-aware commentary on the nature of the cliché.
My favorite aspect of the story, though, is at the very end when, after taking the throne from Logan, you have to then choose to either keep the promises you've made to those you've recruited along the way, which will make the people love you but will drain all resources from the coming war, or you can break all the promises, turning everyone against you, but gathering all the resources you need to not only win the war, but literally save everyone, which is actually the better thing to do. Wait, why is this a choice? All the player has to do is tell everyone what the deal is and be all like, hey, so the next year is probably really going to suck because everything I promised I can't do, and I'm going to have to tax you all hella high and recruit basically everyone into the army in order to save us all from basically death itself. But don't worry, because after we beat whatever this thing is, I can get back to making things right.
Let's get down. I don't want to spend any more time in this box than I have to.
Yeah, now that I think about it, this entire moral questioning thing at the end of the game is actually kind of pointless. Moving on to the gameplay, Fable 3 still has the melee ranged magic focus of the other two games, with rifles and pistols completely taking the place of the bow and arrow, and switching between the three styles on the fly is still a fun time. With the magic, you can now combine two spells together, which honestly sort of breaks the game, making all combat stupidly easy for some cool looking attacks. In addition, your melee and ranged weapons will change appearance to reflect the kind of person you are. Do you run around killing civilians for fun and doing evil quests? Your weapons will reflect that. Do you stick to the law and be a boring hero? Your weapons will reflect that. This is, however, a concept which needed more time to flesh out, since out of all the times I've played through this game, purposely going for every alignment combination possible, my weapon morphs all sort of looked the same.
Swords.
Also a change here is the removal of experience orbs. Instead, you gain guild seals, which you spend on the road to rule purchasing treasure chests. These chests have upgrades for your attack damage, new spells, and new emotes. Yeah, the pointless emote system is still here. It's still pointless besides fitting the silly personality of the series, and that's kind of about it. I much prefer actually getting experience orbs and having to make choices on what to upgrade and when, deciding the exact type of combat I wanted my hero to specialize in. In Fable 3, your hero just sort of becomes the best at everything at the end, which makes sense as we see how they're able to do so, but it's just not really as engaging a system. As you can tell by the footage I've been showing, Fable 3 at the very least is the best looking game out of the trilogy. At least when the frame rate isn't stuttering, or when the screen isn't tearing, or when the lip sync isn't actually off. But yeah, besides all those issues, the game does actually look really good. Colors are more vibrant, character models have much more expression on their movements, the enemy designs have been tweaked just a little, and the whole Kingdom of Albion has never felt more realized, regardless of which region you venture to. One thing which really bothers me is the sheer amount of loading screens. True, they are filled with personality, as befits the series, but there are just so many of them. Also, there's no real pause menu. Instead, you're taken to the Sanctuary after a loading screen, which branches off into separate rooms after a loading screen, where you can then change your weapon loadout, change your clothing, use the map tables to teleport around after another loading screen. And do you see the problem with this whole Sanctuary thing? What was wrong with a simple pause menu? In my last review, I stated Fable 3 is my personal favorite, and it still is, but after replaying it for this review and analyzing the game from a critical standpoint, I can safely agree with the fanbase, it's not as good as Fable 2. A lackluster endgame villain who feels rushed, frame rate stutterings, loading screens out the ass, overpowered magic abilities, and an ending morality portion which, while cool, is actually super easy to realize which course is the proper one to take, brings the title down. No doubt it's superior to the original title, but not by much. Fable 3 gets a 7.2 out of 10.
There he is, the one and only, Major Swift.
Hello everybody, PandaRyuu here. Thanks so much for checking out this video. If you watched it and you haven't yet, be sure to go ahead and click that little subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you're always notified whenever I upload things, because YouTube is dumb and they don't like to notify people even though you subscribed, which means you want to be notified, but again, YouTube is dumb. Also, if you happen to have $1 a month or even more that you feel like you'd be okay parting with, why not go ahead and become a patron on my Patreon? It's what all the cool kids are doing these days. Your $1 a month will go towards helping me improve the channel. Like currently, my plan is to actually get my own microphone because I've been using my brother's to record my voiceovers because I'm poor.